9 books, I guess it is. God, doesn't matter. Okay. Here's, yes.
Well, actually, there's 10 books.
She's right.
I don't.
10 books.
10 points. If you count that one, and because we were trying to switch the ages, she technically wrote all of them, so there's really 10 books.
Okay, 10 books then. Can we filter in the cooking books as well then, because I rather like those.
I'm not sure if those are actually written.
Can we filter them in anyway?
I guess.
The answer is yes. I always pause and open this up because it says Hermione Granger on the front page, and it always gives me pause. I don't know why. All right, here's how this is going to roll. Roll as a wizarding term as we move along. Miss Lovegood, there seems to be an issue with your shoes.
I've been looking everywhere. Has anybody seen them?
All right. Here's how this is going to go. There are, in fact, a few stories. I will not read all of them because, as most of you are aware, it's a very sort of metered speech. It would take forever. But between The Wizard and the Hopping Pot and actually, we've got 5 stories. Which yes, dear.
Rabbity Rabbity, please, Professor.
That's a good one.
Babbity, rabbit.
Thank you, sir.
Of all the stories you want to hear about it. And the crackling story. We find a seat. There's one up here in front, otherwise you can sit on the floor or against the wall. Not in front of this person's iPad. Can we shut the door? Is that possible? Is it get too hot?
Okay.
Shut it.
Wait, it's just, otherwise I hear people talking and I start getting up there. It's eerily not fair. Babbity, Rabbity, and her cackling stump. A long time ago in a far-off land, there lived a foolish king who decided that he alone should have the power of magic. He therefore commanded the head of his army to form a brigade of witch hunters and issued them a pack of ferocious black hounds. At the same time, the king caused a proclamation to be read in every village and town across the land. Wanted by the king, an instructor of magic. No true witch or wizard dared volunteer for the post, for they were all in hiding from the brigade of witch hunters. However, a cunning charlatan with no magical power saw a chance of enriching himself and arrived at the palace claiming to be a wizard of enormous skill. The charlatan performed a few simple tricks and convinced the foolish king of his magical powers. Probably Lockhart. And was immediately appointed the Grand Sorcerer-in-Chief, the king's private magic master. The charlatan bade the king give him a large sack of gold so that he might purchase wands and other magical necessities. He also requested several large rubies to be used in casting curative charms and a silver chalice or 2 for storing and maturing of potions. All of these the foolish king, supplied. The charlatan stowed the treasure away safely in his own house and returned to the grounds. He did not know that he was being watched by an old woman who lived in a hovel off the edge of the grounds. Her name was Babbity. She was a washerwoman who kept the palace linen soft, fragrant, and white. Peeping from behind her drying sheets, Babbity saw the charlatan snap 2 twigs, one from the king's tree, from one of the king's trees, rather, and disappeared into the palace. The charlatan gave the twigs to the king and assured him that it was a wand of tremendous power. It will only work, however, when you are worthy of it. Every morning, the charlatan and the foolish king walked out to the palace grounds where they waved their wands and shouted nonsense into the sky. The charlatan was careful to perform more tricks so that the king remained confident of the grand sorcerer's skill and of the power of the wands, and, to give him more gold. One morning, as the charlatan and the foolish king were waving their twigs, hopping in circles, chanting meaningless rhymes, a loud cackling reached the king's ears. Babati, the washerwoman, was watching the king and the charlatan from the window of her tiny cottage and was laughing so hard that she had soon sank out of sight, too weak to stand. "I must look undignified to make that old washerwoman laugh so," said the king, and he ceased his hopping and twig twirling and frowned. "I grow weary of practice. When will I be ready to perform real spells in front of my subjects?" The charlatan tried to soothe his pupil, assuring him that he would soon be capable of astonishing feats of magic, but Babati's laughter had stung the foolish king more than the charlatan knew. Tomorrow, said the king, "we shall invite the court, and they will watch their king perform magic." The charlatan saw that the time had come to take his treasure and flee. "Alas, your majesty, it is impossible. I had forgotten to tell your majesty that I must set out for a very long journey tomorrow. If you leave this palace without my permission, sorcerer, my brigade of witch hunters will hunt you down with their hounds. Tomorrow morning you will assist me to perform magic for the benefit of all my lords and ladies, and if anyone laughs at me, I will have you beheaded." The king stormed back to the palace, leaving the charlatan alone and afraid. Not all of his cunning could save him now, for if he could not run away and could not help the king with magic, his neither knew. Seeking a vent for his fear and anger, the charlatan approached the window of Babati, the washerwoman. Peering inside, he saw the little old lady sitting at her table, polishing a wand. In the corner behind her, the king's sheets were washing themselves in the wooden tub. The charlatan knew at once that Babati was a true witch, and it was she who had given him the awful problem, and she who could solve it. "Crone!" roared the charlatan, "your cackling has cost me, and if you fail to help me, I will denounce you as a witch, and it will be you who is torn apart by the king's hounds." Old Babati smiled at the charlatan and assured him that she would do everything in her power to help him. The charlatan instructed her to conceal herself inside a bush, and while the king did his magical display, to perform the king's spells for him without his knowledge. "What, sir, if the king attempts a spell Babati cannot perform?" The charlatan scoffed. "Your magic is more equal to that fool's imagination." Well, the following morning, all the lords and ladies of the kingdom were assembled on the palace grounds. The king climbed onto the stage in front of them all, the charlatan by his side. From inside a bush nearby, Babati pointed her wand at the hat, and it caused it to vanish. Great was the astonishment and admiration of the crowd, and a loud applause for the jubilant king. "Next, I shall make a horse fly," said the king, pointing his twig at his own steed. From inside the bush, Babati pointed her wand at the horse, and it rose high into the air. Special effects by Vladimir Snape. The crowd was more thrilled and amazed. They roared their appreciation of their magical king. "And now," said the king, looking round for an idea. The captain of the brigade, where the witch hunters ran forward. "Your Majesty, this very morning Saber died eating a poisonous toadstool. Bring him back to life, Your Majesty, with your wand." The captain heaved onto the stage the lifeless body of the largest of the witch-hunting hounds. The foolish king branded his twig, pointed at the dead dog, but inside the bush, Babati smiled and did not lift her wand, for no magic can truly raise the dead. When the dog did not stir, the crowd began to whisper and to laugh. They suspected the king's first two feats had been mere tricks after all. "Why doesn't it work?" said the king to the charlatan. "There, Your Majesty, there," shouted the charlatan, pointing to the bush where Babati sat. "I see her, plain, a wicked witch who is blocking your spell with her own magic. Seize her! Somebody seize her!" Babati fled the bush, and the brigade of witch hunters set off in pursuit. unleashing their hounds who bayed for Babity's blood. But as she reached the low hedge, the little witch vanished from sight, and when the king, the charlatan, all the courtiers gained the other side, they found a pack of witch-hunting dogs barking and scrabbling about a bent and aged tree. "She has turned herself into a tree," screamed the charlatan, dreading lest Babity turn back into a woman and denounce him. "Cut it down, your majesty. That is the way to treat evil witches." An axe was brought at once, and the old tree was felled to loud cheers from the courtiers and the charlatan. However, as they were making ready to return to the palace, the sound of loud cackling stopped them in their tracks. "Fools!" cried Babity's voice from the stump. "No witch or wizard can be killed by being cut in half. Take an axe if you do not believe me, and cut the grand sorcerer in two." Captain of the brigade of the witch hunters was eager to take up this experiment. He raised his axe, and the charlatan fell to his knees, screaming for mercy and confessing all of his wickedness. He was dragged away to the dungeons, and the tree stump cackled more loudly than ever. "By cutting a witch in half, you have unleashed a dreadful curse upon your kingdom. Henceforth, every stroke of harm you inflict upon another witch or wizard will feel like an axe stroke in your own side until you wish to die of it." At that, the king fell to his knees and told the stump that he would issue a proclamation at once protecting all witches and wizards in the kingdom, allowing them to practice their magic in peace. "Very good, but you have not yet made amends to Babity. Anything at all," cried the foolish king, wringing his hands before the stump. "You will erect a statue of Babity upon me in memory of your poor washerwoman, and remind you forever of your own foolishness," said the stump. The king agreed at once and promised to engage the foremost sculptor in the land and have a statue made of pure gold. And then the shamed king and all the noble women and men returned to the palace, leaving the tree stump cackling behind them. When the grounds were deserted, there wriggled from a hole between the roots of the tree stump a stout and whiskery old rabbit with a wand clamped between her teeth. Babity hopped out of the grounds and far away, and ever after a golden statue of the washwoman stood upon the tree stump, and no witch or wizard was ever harmed in the kingdom again. Now, I would like at this time to read The Wizard and the Hopping Pot. But in order to read The Wizard and the Hopping, I need a volunteer from the audience. I need more than one hand to go up. Oh, you know if you volunteer your child, I'm going to make her do it. All right, come on here. What's your name? Victoria. You sure? Okay. Victoria, this is everybody. Everybody say hi to Victoria.
Hi, Victoria. You have a cool hat.
You do have a lovely hat. Could you do me a favor? You can sit down. You have to stand. Or you can stand if you like. Can you hold this in one hand? And you're confused already, aren't you? I know. Can you hold this in the other? Thank you. I haven't told you what to do yet, have I? Okay. Are you familiar with this book? Really? Does your mother know that they sell these upstairs?
Yeah, probably, I don't know.
I see you have a dark mark, though. Were you sorted? Which house do you belong? Of course you do.
That's why Snape being so nice to her.
This is as nice as I get. All right. Well, you're not familiar with the story, but here's how the story is going to go. I'm going to read the story of The Wizard and the Hopping Pot. And there'll be a few key moments where I'm going to need your assistance. Okay? There are times when the pot will make noise. When the pot makes noise and I describe the clanging of the pot, I want you to hit the pan with the spoon. Can you do that? That's good. All right. Eventually, I'm going to want to hear a knock on the door, and I don't want you to rap on the table. Can you do that? You're awesome. You're a delightful child. Your mother must be very proud of you. She's very proud of you, right? Are you going to pay her back for this? You don't know what I mean, do you? On the plus side, you're honest. That's good. All right. This is a story of the Wizard and the Hopping Pot, as told by Vladimir Snape, with assistance from Victoria, House of Slytherin. There once was a kindly old wizard who used his magic generously and wisely for the benefit of his neighbors. Rather than reveal the true source of his power, he pretended that his potions, charms, and antidotes spring ready-made from a little cauldron he called his lucky cooking pot. We don't have one, it'll be good, okay?
Excuse me,
We
I'm
don't
sorry.
have one. For miles around, people came to him with their troubles, and the wizard was pleased to give his pot a stir and put things right. This well-beloved wizard lived to a goodly age and then died, leaving all of his belongings to his only son. This son was very different than his gentle father. Those who could not work magic were, in his son's mind, worthless, and he often quarreled with his father's habit of dispensing magical aid to their neighbors. Upon the father's death, the son found hidden inside the old cooking pot a small pack bearing his name. He opened it hoping for gold, but found only instead a soft, thick slipper, too small to wear, and with no matching pair. I didn't bring a slipper because I thought that'd be weird. I can make you hold an old slipper, you know that, right? Well, we have that understanding. You're doing great so far. You're welcome. A fragment of parchment with the slipper bore these words: "In the fond hope, my son, that you will never need it." The son cursed his father's age-softened mind and threw the slipper back in the cauldron, resolving henceforth to use it as a rubbish pail. That's English for garbage basket. That night, a peasant woman knocked on the front door. Good job, thank you. "My grandfather is afflicted by a crop of warts, sir," she told him. "Your father used to mix a special potion in that old cooking pot." "Begone!" cried the son. "What care I for your brat's warts?" And he slammed the door in the old woman's face. At once there came a loud clanging and banging from his kitchen. Loud. There we go. The wizard lit his wand and opened the door, and there, to his amazement, he saw his father's old cooking pot. It had sprouted forth a single foot of brass. It was hopping in a spot in the middle of the floor, making a fearful noise. The wizard approached it in wonder, but fell back hurriedly when he saw that the whole of the pot's surface was covered in warts. "Disgusting object," he cried, and he tried to vanish the pot, then to clean it by magic, and finally to force it out of the house, but none of his spells worked, however, and he was unable to prevent the pot from hopping up after him out of the kitchen and following him up the bed, clanging and banging loudly on every wooden stair. The wizard could not sleep all night for the banging of the warty old pot by his bedside, and the next morning the pot insisted upon hopping after him up to the breakfast table. Clang, clang, clang went the brass-footed pot. And the wizard had not even started his porridge when there came another knock at the door. An old man stood at the doorsteps. "'Tis my donkey, sir," he explained. "Lost she is, or stolen, and I without her cannot take my wares to market, and my family will go hungry tonight." "I'm hungry now," roared the wizard, and he slammed the door on the old man. Clang, clang, clang went the cooking pot's single brass foot. But now, pages are stuck together because it's a book. Look at that, I've lost my place over here. But now its clamor was mixed with the bays of a donkey and the groans of hunger echoing from the depths of the pot. I'm not going to make you do that. You're welcome. Oh,
Thanks.
unless of course your brother's willing to help. Do you want to help too? Okay. You have two choices. You can be silent or you can come up here and help. Okay. Silence it is then. Be still, be silent, shrieked the wizard. But none of his magical powers could quieten the warty pot, which hopped at his heels all day, banging and groaning and clanging, no matter where he went or what he did. Then evening came, and a third knock was upon the door. And there at the threshold stood a young woman, sobbing as though her heart would break. My baby is grievously ill, and won't you please help us? Your father told me to come if ever I was troubled. The wizard slammed the door on her, and now the tormented pot filled to the brim with salt water and slopping tears all over the floor as it hopped, bayed, groaned, and sprouted more warts. Though no more villagers came to seek the help, the pot kept him informed of every ill. Within a few days, it was not only braying and groaning and slopping and hopping and sprouting warts, it was also choking and retching, crying like a baby, whining like a dog, spewing out bad cheese and sour milk, and a plague of hungry slugs. You don't have to do any of that. If your brother was up here, I would make him do all. The wizard could not sleep or eat with the pot beside him, but the pot refused to leave, and he could not silence it nor force it to be still, illustrated in this drawing. Bring me, at last the wizard could bear no more. Bring me all of your problems, all of your troubles, all of your woes, he screamed, fleeing out into the night, with the pot hopping behind him along the road to the village. Come, let me cure you, mend you, and comfort you. I have my father's cooking pot, and I will make you well. And the foul pot, still bounding alongside him as he ran up the streets, casting spells in every direction, it clanged loudly. Inside one house, the little girl's warts vanished as she slept. The lost donkey was summoned from a distant patch and sat down softly beside its stable. The sick baby was doused with dignity and woke well and rosy. In every house of sickness and sorrow, the wizard did his best, and gradually the cooking pot beside him stopped moaning and retching and groaning and clanging, and eventually became silent, shiny, and clean. Well, pot, asked the trembling wizard, as the sun began to rise. The pot burped out a single slipper. Permitted him to fit it onto its single brass foot, and then together they set off back to the wizard's house, the pot's footsteps muffled at last. But from that day forward, the wizard helped the villagers, like his father before him, lest the pot cast off its slipper and begin to hop once more. It's important whenever you've done a performance for people that you bow and that they applaud. So I would like you to bow very deeply. Thank you. This is show business. This is very important for young people to learn. How old are you? 10. You have to think for a second. You're certain? You're 10. She's 10. All right. I want you to bow very deeply. They're going to applaud, and when they stop, I want you to stand back up, okay? All right. Very good job. You, her parents, should be very proud of at least one of your children. He does know who I am, right? He knows what he's in for, okay. I often get asked to unite the children, and no, not particularly. If they've seen the movies, they know. This should come as no surprise. All right, how are we doing on time?
It's 4:20.
4:20. Dear God, I could read all 5 of them. All right, this is what I'm going to have to do. Do you want to hear all 5? Because I apparently have time to do this.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna have to read the Hairy Heart next, and this is basically why I've done this before for different cons and different panels, and usually people want to hear largely because they like watching me say the words, and then of course everybody likes the Tale of the Three Brothers for the very obvious reasons. And one particular con, somebody's like, "Oh, read the Hairy Heart." Has everybody actually read this book?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. All right, most of you, right?
Yes.
The Tale of the Hairy Heart is really not a pleasant tale. It's one of my favorites.
I've got a question, Professor.
Oh, fantastic.
Was the character in this story based on you? Because you have some strange similarities.
And the Hairy Heart?
Yes.
Well, no, but I rather like it.
Okay.
It's not based on me, but I certainly think I can relate. So I read this at a convention in Ohio, and because somebody had asked for it, and usually at the end everybody's like, "Ah, thank you, thank you." And then I read this one, and then at the end everybody went. This is the most. Do you have this? You don't have this book.
Oh, yes, we do.
Victoria has told me you don't.
I
Are you implying, Miss, that your child is lying?
She hasn't read it, but our copy does not look like that because it was not bought here. It's the British version. It looks different.
Oh, well, in that case, 10 points to Slytherin for purchasing the proper English version of this book.
I think he's trying to ask if you're okay with the story.
Oh,
Are
yes.
you okay
Oh,
with
yeah,
the
that's
story?
fine.
Yes, because of all the stories in this book, especially for younger people, this is the darkest and saddest and potentially scariest of all of them. And while I have every confidence that Victoria can handle it, what I don't have is every confidence that this child with the selfish Mountain Dew can handle it. You nearly let that drop earlier. Mind your soda. It's a little scary.
It's scary, yeah.
You'll be all right. In the event of severe panic, tough. Oh, this was based on me. Who asked Luna? This was based. Look at there once was a handsome, rich, and talented young warlock. Well, there we go. That answers that question. There once was a handsome, rich, and talented young warlock who observed that his friends grew foolish when they fell in love. So many people often do. Gambling and preening, losing their appetites and their dignity, the young warlock resolved never to fall prey to such weakness and employed the dark arts to ensure his immunity. Unaware of his secret, the warlock's family laughed to see him so aloof and cold. All will change, they prophesied, when a maid catches his fancy. But the young warlock's fancy remained untouched. Though many a maiden was intrigued by his haughty mien and employed her most subtle arts to please him, none succeeded in touching his heart. The warlock gloried in his indifference and the sagacity that had produced it. The first freshness of his youth waned, and the warlock's peers began to wed and then to bring forth children. Their hearts must be husks. He sneered inwardly, shriveled up by the demands of those mewling offspring. And once again he congratulated himself upon the wisdom of his early choice. In due course, the warlock's aged parents died. Their son did not mourn them. On the contrary, he considered himself blessed by their demise. Now he reigned alone in the castle. Having transferred his greatest treasure to the deepest dungeon, he gave himself over to a life of ease and plenty. His comfort the only aim of his many, many servants. The warlock was sure that he must be an object of immense envy to all those who beheld his splendid, untroubled solitude. Fierce was his anger and chagrin, therefore, when he overheard two of his servants discussing their master one day. The first servant expressed pity. With all his wealth and power, he was loved by nobody. The companion servant jeered, asking why a man with such gold in a palatial castle to his name would be unable to attract a wife. Their words dealt dreadful blows to the listening warlock's pride. He resolved at once to take a wife, and she should be a wife of superior splendor. Above all others, she should possess astounding beauty, exciting envy and desire in every man who beheld her. She would spring from magical lineage so that their children would inherit outstanding magical gifts, and she would have wealth at least equal to his own so that his comfortable existence would be assured in spite of the additions to the household. It might have taken the warlock 50 years to find such a woman, yet it so happened that the very day after he decided to seek her, that a maiden answering his every wish arrived in the neighborhood to visit her kinsfolk. She was a witch of prodigious skill and possessed much gold. Her beauty was such that it tugged at the heart of every man who set eyes on her. Every man, that is, except one. The warlock's heart felt nothing at all. Nevertheless, she was the prize he sought, and so he began to pay her court. All noticed the wizard's change in manners, were amazed, and told the maiden she had succeeded where hundreds had failed, and the young woman herself, both fascinated and kind of repelled by the warlock's attentions, but she sensed a coldness that lay beneath his warmth and flattery. She had never met a man so strange and remote. Her kinsfolk, however, deemed theirs a most suitable match, and eager to promote it, accepted the warlock's invitation to a great feast in the maiden's honor. The table was laden with gold and silver, bearing the finest wines, the most sumptuous foods. Minstrels strummed on silk-stringed lutes, and sang of a love their master had never felt. The maiden sat upon a throne beside the warlock, who spake in low and cloying words of tenderness that he had stolen from poets without any idea of their true meaning. The maiden listened, puzzled, and finally replied, "You speak well, warlock, and I would be delighted by your attentions or your affections if only I thought you had a heart." The warlock smiled. I believe that's a smile. Bidding her follow, he led her from the feast and down to a locked dungeon where he kept his greatest treasure. And there, in an enchanted crystal casket, was the warlock's beating heart.
Ew.